Howdy y'all, welcome to a very special tutorial where we discuss mods. Lots and lots of mods. Last week I discussed a couple of different ways to approach this topic and ultimately decided to categorize mods into three recommendation groups. Essential mods, mining mod recommendations, and other recommendations. All of the mods on this list are mods that I currently use and have some experience with. I'll be giving short summaries of each mod as we go along and potentially do full tutorials of mods in the future. There are three mods that I deem essential to KSP, and really in my opinion should be rolled into the base game. First, we have Kerbal Engineer. This is the big one that almost every KSP player uses. Basically, what it gives you is information. Lots of it. It tells you things like your craft's delta V, altitude relative to the terrain below you, gives you your apoapse and periapse heights without having to go to the map, gives you a detailed breakdown of your airspeed, vertical versus horizontal, and so much more. If I could only have one KSP mod, this would be the one for me. Kerbal Engineer definitely deserves a tutorial all of its own to break down how much it really adds to your game and the best ways to use it. This is one in the future that if no one gets to before me, I'll be sure to go over for you guys. Next we have Kerbal Alarm Clock. This mod is wonderful for planning maneuvers way in advance, as it allows you to set up alarms for when you need to perform these maneuvers. It also can tell you when transfer windows happen, and can let you set reminders for other in-game things as well. It's integrated with every mod that I know of, and has extra functionality in a few. The third and final mod I deem essential to KSP is HyperEdit. HyperEdit is one of my favorite testing tools. It allows you to essentially edit the game on the fly. You can edit every aspect of your craft with it, including things like fuel, orbit, landing location, and much more. You also can edit the orbit of all named bodies in game, and change many aspects of them as well. Partly this allows you to have a lot of fun or do some silly stuff, but mostly it allows you to test craft. This is one that I know both FreeToss and I use, and would have a much harder time pulling off our segments without it. Now we move into mods that either have mining as a key part of their makeup, or are very useful to mining in general. First we have my old time personal favorite, Keythane. Keythane was the original mining mod. Installing it will add the resource Keythane to the game, as well as a host of other parts for scanning it, mining it, and converting it to fuel, as well as some parts that can run directly on the stuff. Not only does Keythane get bonus points for being the first resource mod, but also it's the only one that I'm aware of that isn't unlimited. Keythane deposits can be mined out, and so they have a higher value than other resources in the game. Keythane recently received a 1.0 compatibility update, so scanning for Keythane is back to being one of my favorite time sinks. I do love the sound that the little scanner makes whenever you find some. Next up is Carbonite. Carbonite is like Keythane's big brother mod. It has two new resources, Carbonite and Carbundium, plus new parts for scanning, mining, and processing them, plus other parts that run solely on these resources. It also adds several nice fuel storage options to the game. Carbonite uses KSP's stock resource distribution system, so its location and abundance are more random like ore, and connected to the resource abundance slider. This is probably my top pick for resource mods, as there's just so much to play with here, but it's also very easy to learn and interacts naturally with the stock parts, which makes it more of an addition rather than a change. Next we have the Bussard Fuel Scoop system. This is a mod that adds a Bussard scoop, a particle compressor, and a 1.25 meter sized ISRU. A Bussard scoop is a real-world concept that collects particles from space like hydrogen and uses them as a fuel source. While theoretically possible, current technological innovation is still a ways off from making this a reality. In KSP though, works totally fine. And so you can use this as a way to refuel your ships in space. The particles are converted to ore in the compressor, which you turn into fuel using your ISRU. The collector goes extremely slowly. Filling a ship with one scoop can take months of game time, so this is not a cheaty method to help keep your ship fueled instantly. Personally, I like the ISRU best of all out of this pack, as the smaller ISRU works better on most designs in my case. Next up are Kerbal Attachment and Inventory Systems, also known as KAS and KIS. These mods work together to add a number of gameplay elements. You can now store items in spare parts containers in Kerbal inventories, then take the stored items out and assemble various things on EVA. You can build ground structures, whole ships, or make simple modifications on the fly. This mod is crucial for mining operations, however, as you can use special fuel pipes to connect ground bases together to easily assemble a base sans docking ports. You also can use these same pipes to make refueling craft easy as well. Finally, we have Modular Colonization System, also known as MKS, as in K for Kerbal. MKS is a massive mod that I've only begun to learn. It adds new parts, greatly expands on the resource system, and gives you loads of new play options. It's a mod about colonizing the Kerbal system, so many new base building parts are in here. You can create orbital shipyards, extra planetary launch pads, additional Kerbal training facilities, and so much more. All this runs on the resources that are found in the stock game. Metallic ore, substrate, water, and others can now all be mined, plus new ones such as food have been added. This is my next big mod project, to put bases somewhere that's not on Kerbin and build rockets there. I also intend to do a full tutorial on this one mod in particular as soon as I feel comfortable enough teaching it. It's very complex and very in-depth, so there's a lot to learn. The final category are mods that I just plain like. Up first, D-Magic Orbital Science. This mod just adds science equipment to the game. It's all fun new stuff you can do and helps mix up the tech tree grind a bit. If it feels too much like cheating, just lower the overall amount of science you generate anyway to something like 50%, as the amount of science parts just about doubles. Next is Ferrum Aerospace Research. You've heard myself and FreeToss mention this one numerous times in the past, so I won't spend too much time going over it. In case you don't know though, it's a complete overhaul to the aerodynamic system in KSP and is vastly superior to the stock aerodynamics. It does make the game much more difficult in some respects, and planes are not as forgiving. Moving on to Kerbal Aircraft Expansion, or KAX for short, this mod adds airplane parts. FreeToss covered this in a previous episode in depth, but I love this mod to death and use it all the time, so I wanted to add my recommendation for it as well. Next we have Stage Recovery. This is an awesome mod for career mode, as it allows you to recover parts that normally would be lost when they drift outside the physics bubble. You just set up a few parameters for it so it knows how difficult you want your recoveries to be, and then just leave it alone. It tracks your falling parts to make sure that they have parachutes or other means to land, and then runs calculations to see how much of the part can be recovered. The final mod I want to mention is KW Rocketry. I love this parts mod, it's one of my favorites, and I've been using it almost since the beginning. It adds numerous rocket parts and fuel tanks that fill a gap in the KSP rocket lineup. It gives you more choices in solid rocket boosters, and 1.25 meter rocket engines and fuel tanks. It adds other structural parts as well to help you build stronger rockets, such as struts that are much sturdier than the stock version. My one honorable mention to the list is B9 Aerospace. This is probably my favorite mod of all time, with a multitude of parts running the whole spectrum from rover to rocket. This mod had it all. Alas, it still hasn't received its promised 1.0 update. If it ever does, I'll be sure to let y'all know so we can go get it. That about wraps it up for my very special multi-mod tutorial. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at JMA4707 to ask any questions or make any comments about modding. I'd be more than happy to go into some of these more in depth if the interest is there. A couple of notes before closing. First off, like I mentioned in my audio letter, next week I'm going to be going to a marriage and family therapist conference out of town. I don't know if I'll get to record an episode or not, but I am taking my gear with me, so that if I get a chance I will. However, I'm not going to make any promises this time. Second, I'm starting to become conflicted about what to record next. I have a few mining tutorials left, but I also want to do a series called Kerbal 101, where I teach the basics of various gameplay elements like launch profiles, various construction methods, and rovers, to name a few. There are so many gameplay elements, and even players like Biff with over 1,500 hours still ask some of these basic questions. What I'm getting at is, I'd really like some input from you guys. Do you want more advanced mining tutorials? Do you want Kerbal 101, or is there something else that you want me to go over entirely? Please tweet to me or send in letters to the show. Biff and Nos, I also want to know what you guys think as well. Alright, that wraps us up for now. Until next time, J. Arthur, signing off.